So how do you introduce yourself? I read your resume. It says number of things. You're activist, you're journalist, you're actor, you're director, media personality. If you were to pick two titles or maybe three titles, what would you say?
For my first one would be that I'm a stage director. That is my most important activity. Zero commercial value in it, but that's my most important activity. The second great value I would like to place is maybe on as a teacher. I go to colleges and
Right.
and I was for many years adjunct faculty for IIM Bangalore. For some time, IISc Bangalore for Christ University and so on. So Christ University is not adjunct faculty, but visiting, let us say, visiting. So I would say that is my second thing. And the third thing would be that I'm some kind of a journalist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, journalist piece, how do you do that? What's the nature of?
I've completed my engineering in 1983, and that year I couldn't do any work, take a job because I wrote the exam, and then I had a road accident, and I was laid up in bed for about 6 months. I couldn't move around. I was bedridden. Then after 6 weeks, I could move around with crutches. Then after that, with calipers. So, like getting a regular job was not tenable. So after that, during that time, I read a lot of books just to pass the time, try to learn the guitar and all that. Then I decided that uh, I tried to do some real estate for 6 months. Then I got I was not interested in it. Then I went and joined in joined a company called Abacus Data Systems in those days.
Okay.
I'm talking about the 80s, as a programmer. For 6 months, I worked there. I kept always thinking of going and joining a newspaper because when I had just done my second PU, I once wrote along with a friend of mine a 3-piece article on drug abuse in Bangalore. It came on page 1 of Indian Express those days,
Wow.
and then on subsequent days, inside pages it came. And so I always wanted to try journalism, but I couldn't get a job. Finally, I got. So in 85, no, 86 February, I got a job as a apprentice reporter in Indian Express Bangalore. And I was put on crime beat.
Okay.
So that is how I was a professional journalist. So 86 to 88 in Indian Express and 88 to 90 Sunday Magazine. Those days was there, remember? M. Jagbar and then later Veer Sangvi. And then I quit. I went to write for television after that. My entire entry into journalism was to become a writer.
Do you see like it often I find what you do in previous job seeps somehow into the next one and then the next one and the next one.
That's a good connection, because a lot of people those days were very critical of people who were close to me, that I was not consistent with what I'm doing, that I'm keep flitting from one to the other and all that. I would try and tell them that, I get to use what I've learned previously in the next thing that I'm doing. But it was very difficult to tell them. The UVC, University Vishweshwaraya College of Engineering, that is where I did my, engineering degree. The Alumni Association called me and they gave me a distinguished alumni, award. And during that time, to that gathering, very big gathering, I told them that when I did my first movie, I didn't have money to get a Nagara to record voice in 24 frames.
Mm-hmm.
So I used it TV camera, which we had because I had done a television serial by then.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I used a camera somewhat similar to this to actually record sound. But I shot it on film, but recorded sound, and there is a mismatch.
Okay.
Because one is 24 frames, the other is 25 frames. So,
All right.
when you want to dub, there is a mismatch.
Yes.
So I told the dubbing studio person to in the computer to divide it 1/25 and expand the no to divide the thing into correct it to 1/24
1/24. Yeah.
and shorten the thing. They said, it will distort the sound. I said, it's too small.
Yeah.
Oh,
One
in a
frame.
second, 1/24 is like
Nothing.
too small. Nothing you do it. They said it will not work. They did, and it was sinking. They were so amazed, But for me, it was simple math. What is the
Yeah.
problem with that? I thought. So there was another thing. I told them another example. These days, I don't know whether they call it that, but it was we were doing the transition between celluloid
Mm-hmm.
and digital technology those days because the films were shot in celluloid, but editing had become non-linear already.
Yes.
In the sense, the editing decisions had become non-linear,
Yeah.
but it was reassembled as film later.
Yeah.
So you had to, when you did the non-linear edit, the edge code, each frame,
Mm-hmm.
celluloid frame will have an code in the beginning and that code printed on the end on each frame.
Mm.
So the edge code numbers, if you join, you get the edit decision list.
Ideal. Yeah.
Correct, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you do it in a professional software, an EDL is automatically generated,
Yes.
and it slingshots it, you know, to the cutting room,
Yes.
and they take that and the film is cut according to the frames. It just goes stops there, it gets cut in those
Right.
frames. Okay, this is the idea, and that would have cost us a lot to
Mm.
go through that editing process. We had a simple system, Adobe Premiere, not even the Pro version. We
Mm-hmm.
had, so somebody knew how to do that because we had done some editing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we cut the film in our office, you know, and I got my staff to just write the H code.
Okay.
They took 3 days, but wrote the entire thing, and we sent that to Bombay, and they cut the film, accordingly.
Right.
So I said that my engineering background
Mm-hmm.
is what helped me, you know, to actually look at things from the basics. I can give you so many examples like this. I will claim this that
Mm-hmm.
I was the first person to use a digital camera to shoot a television serial in India. I'm talking about 1999. Who will claim that? I did a serial called Garva,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a cult serial those days. It came on ETV, and they had asked us to just shoot it on beta.
Okay.
Then after shooting it on beta, to dump it on DVC Pro, you know, and DVC 50 or something. I've forgotten now, and then only National Panasonic had that system, and then send that, and they will then do it in their own software and put it out. So I worked it out. I said, what is the number of lines it will finally have with all this compression,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You can have 1,800 lines on beta,
Yeah.
but eventually when you put it out,
Yeah.
for telecast, how much it'll be? I saw it's about some 600 lines.
5,
I thought
6,
it'll
7.
be.
Yeah.
I said, why am I spending so much money if there is no throughput integration,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So I went and got from Singapore. I sent somebody from my office to procure 2 cameras
Mm-hmm.
with Leica lens, National Panasonic.
All right.
And I shot the serial in that because I said, from the beginning, from through edit,
Mm.
from shooting till edit, there'll be the same thing. There'll be no complaint. Okay, I said. So they said, the results are amazing. That's what the studio said. How do you do? We would like to come and see what cameras you're using.
Mhm.
One day they came, they were really shocked to see some two tiny things, those days. Now nobody will be shocked, but I'm talking about 2000,
Yeah.
when they came. So I'm using engineering there, right?
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
uh, I'm sorry, it took a long time to explain.
No, but I think you make a
Your
very good
point is
point.
correct.
Very good point that somehow engineering people learn that more, but even in general, I think when we learn from first principle, you apply it everywhere you see that fits, you apply that, and that just makes you work better. And people say, "Oh, how did you do that?" And for us, it's like, "Oh, this is just normal, right?" And that's the thing. But talking about normal, directing, and you said specifically theater director, not just a director. How do you apply that knowledge, the engineering knowledge, or any other knowledge or journalistic knowledge in theater?
See, when I was in engineering college, I was very much in demand as a lighting designer
Okay.
for plays. And, so I know I understood what if, Fresnel lenses,
Mm.
you know, not just by application, by principle,
Mm.
I would understand, what the condenser lenses, what a Fresnel lenses. I understood the nature of mixing.
Mm.
So I would apply the nature of mixing to lighting or to sound or later in television
Mm-hmm.
for multi-camera, editing.
Right.
What do you do? You see there are many lights, let us say. Then you bring all the points from the connecting points of the light to a board,
Mm-hmm.
and the lights are numbered, and the board is numbered. You have a dimmer,
Uh-huh.
and starting from those early rheostat to a modern
Modern dimmers.
electronic dimmer. So you connect the lights you want, you know,
Mm.
to the dimmer that you want. So that is one dimmer control for one set
Like,
of lights, correct?
right.
Okay. And you know how much load you can put on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to put more lights, you need a dimmer with bigger capacity to handle,
Yeah.
right? So basically, it's mixing of lights that you're doing.
Right.
Those lights will have the same intensity.
Mm.
They'll come on the same time. They'll have the fade in, fade out timing as the same. Whether you later electronically do it, put it on a computer,
Mm.
whatever the principle is the same.
Mm-hmm.
I would think of the 72 channels of sound are there. You're mixing sound. I'll think, I will these four channels in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do. I can preset voice control for you,
Mm.
voice control for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whenever once I set it, I don't need. See, all this I understand because of engineering.
Yeah.
I don't need to go through another hands-on over 10 years learn it.
And it's more synchronized in a way that, oh, all of these things happen at the same time as
Yeah.
expected.
So when I would go to do lighting, the typically in theaters, the person put in charge of the lights,
Mm.
okay, he'll be some what you call diploma kind of person usually, supremely arrogant because all the theater people will be humanities people. They'll be terrified of all technology things,
Right.
and they will be begging this person to do, and he will be telling them some bullshit. No, that will not work. This will not work. He'll be saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, why won't it work? I'll ask. You go and do it if you want, because without realizing that I'll know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to do sound for plays sometimes. And because of engineering,
Mm.
I knew carpentry. I'll give you a funny example.
Yeah.
We had a ace carpenter called Mushtaq, stage carpenter in Bangalore. Extraordinary guy, okay? I'm a pure artist, And I was in third year engineering, and I was in the electrical lab, when to the principal's room at Colking, to the UBC office. And I went because I was called as an emergency. I went and at Chaudhaya Hall, they're calling saying, this guy is not willing to complete the set.
Oh, you?
Oh, the Mushtaq.
Okay.
If you don't come. We don't understand what he's saying. What does he want? We don't know. He refuses to finish the set. So I said, I'll come. I took permission. I went to, by cycle to Chaudhaya Hall. And I go on stage. Everybody's in panic. It's already 3:30 or something. The show is in the evening. I said, what, Mushtaq? So we have an upstairs set also. So we have built a wooden staircase. He's built. So he's made planks and he's fitting the planks into them. The last, there's one plank which has a hole in it. So they've asked him to put that as the last plank.
Okay.
He doesn't want to put it as the last plank. Okay. And he says, I won't do it because I want to understand the lighting. See, for me, as soon as he said that, I know what he's saying. I told him it's general lighting, Mushtaq. He said they could have told me that, and he just started working. They said, what did you talk about? What did you discuss? I said, because there's a hole in the step. If we do a spotlight on
the shadow,
you'll get a circle
bigger than,
and it will show bad carpentry. And he does not want to do that. He wants you to buy wood that he'll cut and put there. When I said general light, it does not matter because we're not doing any spots. It's a comedy. See, that's what it is. See, that is the difference, understand? So I understand the language of the carpenter, the language of the electrician.
You love more of the direction part of it.
Yes, I'm a backstage person. I love backstage. I'm an actor by real accident.
Right. Yeah. I remember you telling somewhere that how you got the Madras Cafe the first one, right? And then a journey started. You still are theater person rather than the movie person. But I had a question on movies part of it. You worked in Pathaan and you also worked in Kashmir Files. Totally like two edge cases, I would say. One is pure commercial entertainment. The Kashmir File is indie film in its own right, right? Vivek Agnihotri did that. And uh, from acting perspective, or while on set, or while doing both the roles, did you find any difference?
Of course, I find it different. When they told me the story of Pathaan first, I was a little taken aback because I had actually written the synopsis of a story that sounded similar. I had written a story of um, a professor who actually works for for Raw, but he has a dummy life as a professor in a college and all that, and he's a widower. He has a daughter who's studying abroad in the US, and one day the professor he's in a conference abroad, and he gets kidnapped.
Okay.
You know, because he's a virologist, and he's actually doing to preventive thing for viral warfare. And I did that because of COVID. I wrote that story.
Okay.
And they send an agent, to talk to his daughter because the daughter has tried to contact the father for 6 weeks. She's not getting a response, so she comes to India. But they have tracking her. They know where she is. So the guy kind of infiltrates into her life, and when she discovers that he's actually a spy, not and then together they find this kind of story I'd written.
Okay.
And it sounded very similar. And I thought, okay, it's good. Then I asked for the role and who is acting and all that. Yash Raj film. So they said it's a Shah Rukh Khan film. I told my manager, I won't do it. He said, why? I said, see, in these big star films, you'll have no role. Every frame they'll be there, and uh, I won't enjoy it. Then he said, Yashraj has really helped me a lot with Suchitra, where I'm the chairperson, to put Dolby Theatre there and all that. I said, okay, I'm obliged, I will do. So I went and did. I got COVID because of Pathaan. Because everybody in the set got COVID.
Oh, okay.
And the only part in it that I enjoyed was, like working with John Abraham again, a lovely person. I never met Shah Rukh Khan, because the COVID came and we had to do it digitally,
All right.
different places we have to shoot. Anyway, so I haven't watched the film, and I won't watch the film. It's not the kind of thing I want to do.
Okay.
I don't know how good or bad it is. Okay, I suspect it will be nonsense. Okay, so I haven't watched it.
Okay.
But when these Hindutva people said they want to boycott it, I said, I will support it. I will actually promote the film myself. But that is for principle, not for taste. Okay, let's put it that way. Okay. So Kashmir Files, I'll defend it because Kashmir Files has been dubbed as propaganda. Now I want to know, is Schindler's List propaganda?
Questionable.
See, my point is, what constitutes propaganda? No, it is it one-sided? Because in a crime, what is a two-sided story? Right?
Right.
It is undeniably it's a crime. It's a crime against humanity. And those victims are still victims.
Yeah.
They haven't gone back to the places. They cannot go back. They're still under threat. Okay.
Yes.
Whether Kashmir has a right to the self-determination and all that, we'll talk. That's another point. Okay. But my point is that Kashmiri Pandits, whether Kashmir, participates in a referendum, whether the need for referendum has lapsed, whether it becomes a separate country, whether it stays in India, whether it stays in Pakistan, the Pandits belong to Kashmir.
Yeah, regardless.
They're in exile. It's a crime, right?
Yeah.
Some of them still live in refugee camps. So for these intellectuals, okay, India is full of these bogus, people. To say it's propaganda is because they've become the biggest beneficiaries of propaganda in many decades in the past. See, I'll tell you what used to happen. Even now it happens. Whether this government is there or that government is there. What happens is, if you make a film that kind of pushes the rhetoric of the government. In India, revolution itself is sponsored. The government itself promotes revolution. Their own revolution. Nationalized revolution it is.
Right.
So if you promote the agenda of the party in power, then it's a good film.
Good film.
So they'll pick a jury. It's a completely incestuous thing. They'll pick a jury, that is persuaded to government point of view. Why will they pick somebody who's not of government point of view? It takes idiocy, like the BJP has got, to get that Jewish guy, in Goa who came and trashed Kashmir Files as head of jury. That guy came and trashed Kashmir Files, saying he called it a propaganda film. The Congress will never make such mistakes. They're very educated. They're worldly wise, and they'll appoint dummy intellectuals who'll do their bidding, right? The BJP is culturally still inept. So they've always benefited from making propaganda cinema. They'll live in cities, okay, and so their children will go to English medium schools, okay. Some of them will be trying to send them abroad, right? but they'll be making film about village rural poverty or something. They won't, they won't a bull about growing a vegetable, okay? But this is the films they'll make. Nobody will watch that film. Those films would maybe come on Doordarshan those days.
Okay.
But they'll get some national award and they'll get some money.
That's the top of like
Huh?
the game. Like,
See, this is what they do. There is no connection between the lives they lead and the work. See, so Sairat, for instance, you know, or Fandry, you know, why do I really admire that, you know, that Nagaraj
yeah.
Manjule. Because when I was teaching a course in IIM, his brother was there. You know?
Okay.
And I told him this. See, because he 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 writes and tells the story he knows. Okay? He writes the feelings of a community that he belongs to. You know, not as a proxy representative.
Right.
You know. So if you tell the story of the lives you lead, you know, we can see what you're interested in. If you pick stories, you know, that you don't understand, you load, you know, village characters with sophistication that is not theirs, and you who are not capable of understanding the poetry or sophistication they actually
I think we lose that authenticity in the character and the story and the whole plot.
Yeah. See, it's a patronizing, condescending thing to do, correct?
Yes, yes.
So those films are propaganda films. Because the government promotes it, you do the government's bidding. Like the FTII is an autonomous organization. 30 people in the FTII society are appointed by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. The term of the government is 5 years. The term of the society is 3 years. The society actually appoints the director, the governing council, the academic council, and the financial council. You know,
Okay.
they appoint. Okay. How is it autonomous? See, who should run FTI? I'll tell you, FTI is a society who should have. They should have a senior cinematographer, okay, recognized by the peers.
Right.
Okay, an industry veteran, somebody who's known for great work, who is endorsed by audience and rewards, both by awards, okay, both as a reputation. Okay, allow the fraternity to make a
Decide
panel
for itself.
to decide, suggest a panel of 5 people, and you know, let the government select one of them if you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, like that, sound designer, look and feel, creative person, director, assistant director, associate, you know, a camera assistant, you know, gaffer, editor. Those you should people that society automatically with industry peers, you know, who have the knowledge, of the experience to ask for, you know.
Yeah.
Why is the government why is the INP ministry appointing it? You know, duffers who probably did not clear their exams, you know, who paid money maybe and got there, you know. How can they appoint these people? See, this is the propaganda world. Kashmir Files is a private film made with private interest. He has a point of view. He has the right to the point of view.
Yeah. But did you feel like when you're working on that set, how was that experience as such?
I cried, you know, I read the script. I engaged with it so many times, you know. He's very open, you know. I wrote so many suggestions, and he wrote to me saying, you know, Prakashji, this I can use, and I would like to, and all that. He discussed with me. Anupam ji would talk, you know. I spent hours and hours with Mitunda, you know, Mitunda to discuss, you know, politics in India. It was so engaging and intelligent, you know, to be part of that. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll not be obliged to make films like Pathaan. I mean, I have nothing against it. Maybe it may be a good film.
It's very, I mean, commercially, yes, it could have been a success, and it's like just entertainment, nothing more than that is where,
I didn't want to be entertained.
yeah.
I don't watch web series,
Hmm.
because of that. I don't watch my own work a lot, okay? Not just, I didn't watch Pathaan. I haven't watched
Because you
Pathaan.
don't have time, or because
No, I feel awkward to watch myself.
okay.
So I don't watch. I may have done 80, 90 films maybe, but I may have watched only 20, 25. Because I feel embarrassed to watch myself. So,
What do you think of parallel cinema? Like, I know there's sort of that culture started long time back. Satyajit Ray, Imran Alsen, and it's still sort of now mixed into indie films.
I don't know about Satyajit Ray, because he came from a different era of. He was kind of he belongs to a Nehruvian
Mm.
era, of the government actually supporting culture, encouraging great minds in culture. Like the government has no interest in primary education. Pandit Nehru didn't have interest in primary education, and Narendra Modi also has no great interest in primary education.
No, but even
What
now,
I mean is this, okay?
Mm.
So, but he did IIT,
yeah,
right?
that's a plus.
So, to me, Satyajit Ray, good film, bad film is a different matter. But to me, he represents that thing of doing work at the top level internationally,
Mm.
and for the 30 years that the left ruled, West Bengal, they just ran it to the ground.
Mm.
The intellectuals of West Bengal, Bengalis are really bright people. They were forced to leave Bengal and look for jobs elsewhere.
Mm.
There are hundreds of thousands of them in Bangalore. We have, I think, 160, 170 pandals in Bangalore, for Durga Puja.
Right.
Uh, why would they do that? Why would they come somewhere far away, leave that beloved place and come? Because you have a high achiever culture, because they get national awards
Mm-hmm.
and they get international awards, okay? But you are the poorest state. That's what they did to it.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't count him as middle cinema.
Mm.
Basu Bhattacharya, Rishikesh Mukherjee,
Mm.
I would say they are the bridge or parallel cinema. I would say, they represent that kind of thing, the kind of cinema that Amol Palekar,
Amol Palekar, yeah. And they
Sai
do talk about
Ganjekar,
Sham Benegal or
or
even
Sham Benegal
yeah,
did, like Mandi is a great
Mandi.
film, for instance. So that is the bridge cinema. I think that zone has now been occupied by OTT.
Okay.
So that is available for it. So even if you make a film, it's very likely to be viewed on OTT now.
Yes.
So the that medium has defined that genre now. So I think to release that in theaters,
Mm.
sometimes it may happen, but it's rare.
So from commercial point of view, you feel like it won't.
Take Malayalam cinema, for instance, that it does very well because OTT is there.
Mm.
Even earlier it used to do, but commercially it does very well because it goes instantly across the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when Malayalis are kind of inveterate, migrants, they are always traveling and settling somewhere. So they have a large diaspora.
Yeah.
So they can make film of quality because they have an audience of that quality also. So yeah, that is the change now. Technology is redefined this parallel cinema.
Right. Okay.
I
Talking of.
like commercial cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mistake me. Airlift is a commercial film.
Yeah, yeah.
But Airlift is not a kind of meaningless film.
It doesn't like reach to a sort of illogical realm in a way.
It stays grounded as much as possible.
We're talking about a lot of migration or all those things, and I know the play you're working with, counting and cracking, it also has a bit of a migration angle to it in some way, right? Would you put it that way, or it's different story?
See, for people who have never been forced to exile, to go into exile for economic reasons or for reasons of identity, because they have different language or different color, they have a different religion, or within a religion they have a different sub-religion, because of a different dialect, because of all kind. There are many ways to divide the world. Okay?
Yeah.
And you use identities given to you at birth for which you can do nothing. Okay. So some identity abuse is okay. For instance, made okay.
Yeah.
By intellectually made okay in India. It's politically correct, for instance, to abuse Brahmins. Okay. Because say in Karnataka, there may be 1.5 or 2% of the population. So I've grown up with, Brahmin abuse, constantly. In South India, in Tamil Nadu, they threaten them. So they fled Tamil Nadu for 1,000 years now, in different phases.
Okay.
So Ramanujacharya had to flee from. So in the 12th century. So my point is that as long as identity crisis is there, you can use it to divide people, and you create a majority minority idea, and you create a problem.
Yeah.
And in a fight, the majority will win. The stronger side will
win.
The minority can win, if you have the best weapons, Otherwise, the majority wins. So that is what has happened. And in Sri Lanka's case, I'll tell you the parallel. The Sinhala Only Act was done in 1956. In 1956, the reorganization of states happened in India.
Right. Yeah.
In Sri Lanka also, there was a politician, I forget his name, who fasted unto death. Against the Sinhala, demanding Sinhala only. Okay. Potti Sriramulu was Mahatma Gandhi's secretary for a while, I think. He fasted unto death asking for a greater Andhra state. Okay. Telugu state. Actually, he died. And because he died, the States Reorganization Committee was formed. I think it was called the Huxer Committee those days, I may be wrong. Okay. And they, or some other committee, and the linguistic states were formed in 1956. And there was the Sri Lanka Samaja Party, it's a socialist party there. Their leader, Colin De Silva. Colin De Silva. He made a statement, actually, which is the line that Appa uses in the play. He said, 2 languages, 1 nation, 1 language, 2 nations.
Okay.
Actually, that line is there in the play, or a modified version of it. What I'm saying is, the play is rooted in absolute reality. And Indians should understand what it means for India to be united, that it can stay united with so many languages, and with a spirit of accommodation. When English only was there, and Bandaranaike said it cannot be English only, it had to be Sinhala only. In India, exactly like that, Pandit Nehru said, Hindi only. Pandit Nehru, why we say many people said that, but who was the most powerful man then? He said Hindi only. We are grateful to Tamil people of India who said no way. So they fought in the 60s. As a kid, I remember I used to go and write on the streets with a chalk, DWH, although I didn't know what it meant.
What was it?
Down with Hindi, it meant.
Okay.
and 1968, I was 6 or 7 years old, I used to write on the road. Somebody had given me a chalk. So it is because of that Nehru made a concession and said, okay, you have English also as the official language for a limited time. We'll review it after 10 years or 20 years. When he said that, in Tamil Nadu, the politicians said, I think it was Annadurai, he said, why would I want to have a small door for the house when I have already a big door for the house, he said.
Right.
Because what is there? There is great work in English, in literature, in Hindi literature. So Rajagopalachari said, yes, I have read two great works in Katha Sarit Sagar and Railway Time. He said. So it's not correct. Hindi is also an important language. A lot of people speak. But I'll tell you, there is a overpowering nature of Hindi in the Hindi belt. It has done very little damage to the South, okay, comparatively. The most beautiful dialects are there, Bhojpuri,
Yeah.
Khadi Boli, Brij Bhasha. Those are independent language cultures. Hindi is very new.
Yeah.
What ancestry does it have?
It's all mixed, like part Persian, part Arabic, part like I don't even know where
Persian is a great language, a great tradition. Okay, and Urdu is a better mix of great languages than even Hindi, right? In that sense. No, but it's there now, and, no problem. And they've not been able to remove English, and I don't think it'll be possible to remove English now.
Yeah.
But in Sri Lanka, see, they could not handle this. It went to the extent they pushed through the Sinhala only Act in 56. And it took nearly 30 years for it to become a full-blown riot. And that black, July or something happened, 83. And this migration happened of the Tamils. They had to flee. It must be heartbreaking. This story is based on a real person and his family. And the chief character through whom the story is told, Radha, represents a real person, a very famous Australian artist, dancer, beautiful, extraordinary talent, Anandavalli. It's her life, she actually fled Sri Lanka and came here. And it's her son, Shakti Dharan, who written the play. There is something to it, It is based on a reality that is undeniable. It is fiction, of course.
Okay.
But it's more truth than fiction.
So what is it about? If I can see there's a multi-generation thing, there's politics, there's migration aspect, lots of different aspects to it. But if you were to pick one saying, okay, this play is about something, what is that one?
It's about belonging.
Okay.
When you assume that you belong to your place, and somebody makes you feel you belong to this place a little less than I belong, then it is a very sad thing. If somebody is born a Muslim in India, it is no, whatever people believe, you don't ask for where to be born. You can mythologize and say, I know, I have faith that, I have chosen from heaven to come and be here. All that anyway, it's a waste of time because you can't prove it. So why do you need faith? Because you have no proof.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a journey of argument we should never take.
Right.
If somebody says I believe in something, you just leave it because what can you do?
Yeah.
But if you are a rational person, we can talk. You have no choice how you're born. To tell a person because you're born in this bed of the hospital and not that bed on the hospital, you're less of a citizen. What is that? So whether you're a Muslim or whether you're a Tamilian in Bangalore, in 1991, when the Bangarappa Congress government was there, the government itself organized, riots against poor Tamils. They had to flee from Bangalore. Tamil families. So it's not as though it happened only to Sri Lanka. This kind of thing happens regularly in India also. Okay. Because you find some way of creating the other, and then you create a fight. It's just Kaveri water is there.
Yeah.
It's just a river. Even before India was there, as long as Bharata is there, or even before Bharata was there, Kaveri was there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you just draw lines on a paper and say, from here Kaveri is mine, from there you do, right? And then on that you can fight.
Yes.
You can kill each other on that, which is what the 91 riots against Tamil was.
Yes.
They have nothing to do with it. They're drinking the same water you're drinking. Okay? But this is what happened. Somebody did, in Bangalore, Bangalore Doordarshan did Urdu news.
Okay.
Completely mischievous. I'm not saying you should not do Urdu news. If you're willing to do Urdu news, do Tulu news, do Biari news, do Konkani news, do Havyak news. Why are you doing Urdu news? Right? They did.
Just to.
And there's a right. Because, I'm saying from both sides they'll do. Still, I'm not pro anybody. I'm not pro Muslim. I'm not pro minority, pro Christian, pro Sikh, pro Hindu, pro Brahmin, nothing. I'm saying people are helpless in the way they're born.
Yeah.
Okay? Neither take advantage of your identity, nor take a disadvantage of somebody else's identity.
Yeah.
Right? This is all I'm saying. This is about belonging. Suddenly the Tamils are told that, bad luck, because your native language, nate word comes from birth. The root of nate means
Natal.
birth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Natal, prenatal, postnatal. Native
Mother tongue
is what comes from birth. So your native language is not native, is what they're saying, right? In Allah, you have to learn. Okay? So I have to learn Article 343 to 351 in India. Imposes Hindi. It mandates an imposition of Hindi on Indians in Indian Constitution. Rubbish it is, those articles. It mandates using taxpayers' money to impose Hindi on them. Why would you want to do that? When you do that, a person who is singing Hindi songs will turn against you.
and suddenly you feel like I don't want to do it now.
Yeah. You can't force me to do it. So that is what they did. They said no. They removed English. When you remove English, you'll no longer have a great number of doctors, engineers, highly educated lawyers. You won't have. You'll always show exceptions, but the exceptions prove the rule. See, if we cannot expect the writers of India at this moment to be able to translate, say, Einstein's theory of relativity into Kannada or to Marathi. There are some people who can do it. In Kannada, we had a great writer called Purnachandra Tejasvi, scientifically endowed, brilliant mind, a high intellectual. Somebody like him can do it. In one of his works, Chidambara Rahasya, he has a character called Dr. Patil, who explains, carbon retention, because of forest fires, and how it can regenerate, our life can regenerate. There's a passage, I think, in a coffee shop where he explains, uh, particle physics, in Kannada without using a single English word. So some rare, brilliant talent will be there. But all these intellectual writers whose main occupation is speaking, not writing, they don't know anything. What will they know? They know how to read and write.
Yeah.
What else do they know? They don't know anything. When they're the ones who demand this because they expand their market, Kannada only. If you say, Kannada children will suddenly be deprived of universities because they study in Kannada medium. Thousands of Kannada medium schools government schools have shut down in Karnataka because parents are wiser. They spend more money, 60, 70,000 per annum. They spend the poorest people and send their children to so-called convent schools, where they teach English because they know that English is the way forward for the children. It is terrible. My guru Lankesh would say, look, make it in the Kannada medium if you want, but teach English really well as a language. Or make it in English medium, but teach Kannada as a language really well. Because he was a practical, wise person, a great intellectual, creative person. And he knew many things. He knew how to handle stuff. And he had no patience with all these intellectuals. He had no patience. So they are the ones who impositional idea they have. Because that is their world, that is their market. The rubbish you write, people who know Kannada will read. That is what it will be then. Solomon Bandaranaike did it for a different reason. Because there's an unfortunate other connection to it, because the Sinhala language connects to the Sinhalese community for Buddhists also. Okay. By and large. Right? So although he was an Anglican Christian, Bandaranaike, he pushed, Sinhalese, I would say in some ways, their interests, all round identities. And ironically, when he was 60 years old, he was assassinated by a Buddhist monk. Wow. So this play is not over, in my opinion. So you can tell this, somebody should do a web series of this, say, you should do the story of Sri Lanka. Continuation. You should do 3 seasons maybe. Okay. You've been to Australia 6th time now? Yeah. What are your observations? Like you've been so many times, so especially let's say Indian diaspora here, art and cultural scene. What are your key observations? What would you recommend people do or not do? Yes, Australia is a very lucky country, I would say. If you visit somebody told me that if you visit a beach every day in Australia, it'll take you 29 years to cover all the beaches. So it's a very well endowed country and beautiful, and that it's aiming to be multicultural. Although I hate that word, okay, because what Europe has made out of it. So, but India is multicultural without ever using that word. Yeah. So a great deal of migration is happening here. So in Australia, the native Australians are there. And how do you give them a share of the resources? How do you get them to reconcile and accept laws that have been made without consulting them? You can say you are consulting them now, but I'm saying, but a lot of property and systems and a lot of establishment has happened without consulting them. What is the reconciliation? What is the process of getting them to become, what is the word that you use? Integrated. Uh, uh, assimilate them. How do you get it? Is something that I think Australians are genuinely working on, because I see that they are very concerned, and they want to do something about it. It's for them to resolve, but it's a concern, I will say. But I have no solution for it. It's something to figure out. The second thing I would say is that the multiculturalism entails also multicentric society. Okay, and multicentric societies means the establishment doesn't have a hierarchy of decision making. So for some channel here to say, we will allow this language if it has so much representation, kind of thing, is a little bit funny. Instead of that, you should I would recommend to them, you should create an open licensing system. For free spectrum in the mainstream, for different language groups to do it. If there is a language group of only just 10,000 people and they have sufficient money to maintain it, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? Openly license it, ask them to pay for it. Okay. Remember, it taxpayers' money, so you cannot look to make money out of it.
Correct.
You ask them to pay for it so that they're serious about it. That's all. So I would say their representative system should be multicentric as well. It cannot just have a hierarchy that I suspect there is now. Okay, in the way you decide zoning, how it should look, what you call Australian culture, how houses should look. When the council decides, how houses should look, what elements to say, Lebanese architecture or Tamil architecture or Sri Lankan architecture, or Italian architecture. Surely that must be good. So what elements of that are there that that you consciously look to incorporate? So I'm not sure. I'm just new, but these are my observations. I'm saying that the decision making needs to be decentralized across.
That's a good point. I think.
And finally, I'll say that you're opening your borders. I'm not denying that and Australia is a very open place. And so for instance, I pay taxes and I pay super here. When I go back to India, it is initially they had made it so difficult for my daughter is a chartered accountant, and somebody in Belwad is now helping me. Otherwise, they force you to go through a tax accountant here who is somebody you have to hire a professional. You have to pay that person by the hour. I know the Australian tax office has people who don't actually know what you're talking about. They don't care if you're somewhere else. I think if you make people pay tax, whether Australian citizens or not, okay, and we want to file return, help us file returns. We're not looking to evade. We just want to be done with it.
Yeah.
They make it so difficult. And this thing about making it easy if you're an Australian, making it difficult for others is not a good game, because everyone will not come and settle here. You must have smart people who will know how to organize systems where everything is easy and integrated.
Yeah.
I will say that Australia is technologically forward, in cashless payment, everything it has got, but I think it's quite poor in the way it is integrated in the world markets. It may compare itself to the US or something, which may not be such a great example,
No.
but it should do better than that. In India, we have this UPI, for instance. See, we could pay for visa fees through UPI, in the US Embassy in India. US Embassy here. through the Indian thing, we could pay by UPI from here, India is more advanced that way.
Yes.
In Australia, it's extremely difficult. If you're not Australian, none of the benefits of Australia that you have, you get so easily. When I came here, one last example, I'll give it stop. Last time when I came for Jungle in the Sea, I'd taken my booster shot and come. So when I came here, they told me, have you taken your booster shot? Because you'll have to tell us. We need to make an emergency appointment. It'll take at least 2 weeks for you to get. So I told them, look, I came from India. I took the booster shot last week.
Mm.
I called from my house, which is in Jayanagar 8th block, to Apollo Hospital, which is in Jayanagar 3rd block. Okay. I called. They said, come. I walked there. It took 20 minutes. And I sat inside. In 5 minutes, they gave me the booster shot. They made me sit there for 15 minutes, because it
Observation.
was observation. Then I got up and walked back. That's all it took. And by then we had done 2 billion vaccinations. Okay. So you may have a notion of efficient healthcare and all that. Okay. I think you have to think about it again.
You've seen better. One last question, and this is more on when is your next visit? Do you have any plans, or would you like to do any project here?
I want to come here and direct
Written by
me. Or
Okay.
I don't know. I have a play written and directed by me based on Dr. S.L. Bhairappa's novel Parva,
Okay.
8.5 hours with 4 intervals. I've done it in Canada. We did 57 shows for Rangayana, Mysore. We also did it in Pune. But now I've translated that to English, and we've done 6 shows already in English. So I want to bring that play here for performance. But I also want to then come again sometime and direct a play myself. So I'm going to look for that opportunity.
All right. I think we have a lot to do then. But really thankful for your time. I think I didn't expect this long. All good, sir. Thank you.